Hi everyone, welcome to the Above the Line podcast, a weekly podcast, a short podcast, looking at the filmmaking process from two up-and-coming filmmakers. Myself, Adam Palmer, I'm a writer and director based in the West Midlands, and I'm also a member of the BFI Network and BAFTA crew, currently working on a short film and will be progressing into features hopefully soon. And I'm joined by...
Hi, I'm Chris Holt. I am a current screenwriter for all things horror and sci-fi, currently trying to get a feature film off the ground and funded.
Brilliant. And this specific episode is all about writing and all about outlining. So, Chris, if you could just talk to us about, you've got that initial idea and you've got a spark of something and you want to get writing and you want to get it made into a screenplay. What are your steps from sort of idea to first getting something on the page?
Yeah, okay, so it's quite an interesting one because over the years I've tried to refine this process quite heavily. And each time I come to write a short or a feature, I sort of change the process up. So initially you said a spark, and I do get sparks of ideas for films and short films, usually feature films, because that's what I love writing. And they could be a character I've seen or I think of, or from watching a film, or from being out and about in town, or at a certain location. I'll get an idea for a character, and then I'll kind of wonder what kind of position I could put that character in. So sometimes I'll then think of locations. So all of a sudden I've built a character, a location. And I'm one of those people that likes to write really self-contained stories. So it's very few characters. It's always set in one location or very few locations. And it's also set over one period of time. I'm often inspired and influenced by a lot of those films. So Dog Soldiers is one of the biggest influence for me of all time, because it's a group of characters, one location, one period of time. And for some reason, I love that. Again, Jeremy Saulnier's Green Room was another one for me, which I absolutely love. So I'm always thinking on those terms. That's always the concept that I tend to love writing. I like the idea of characters being confined to one location because they have to experiment in order to get out of that situation using what is available to them. So that's always like my template that just sticks in my head. Where are the characters going to be? What's the period of time? And what can they use around them? So every time I'm thinking of something, I tend to ponder it for a long time. I think a lot of the process of writing is just thinking, and that could just be staring at a blank wall, drifting off, daydreaming, anything, lying in bed. A lot of it is just thinking about situations and events for these characters, and just thinking about the characters themselves. And once I've thought for a huge amount of time, this could be weeks and months of just thinking, I decide to put something down on paper. Now that usually can be, the first thing I do is open up a Google sheet and I just make bullet points of ideas and events that could happen. And then once I've gone through those bullet points, I tend to try and organise them into Act 1, Act 2 and Act 3. Once I've got them roughly done, I then expand on it again into the beats of a film, because the structure of a movie is the most crucial part for me. And I'd love to go into this in future podcasts, but for this one, I'll give you guys an overview. I create beat boards for the entire movie itself, opening act, Act 1, bleeding into Act 2, raising the stakes. Then the leading up to the midpoint, and then the midpoint, fun and games, then the dark night of the soul, as they call it, that leads into the Act 3, and then once we break into Act 3, everything gets escalated again, leading up to the finale, and then the closing scene. And it's very much, I structure everything around this, so I tend to outline for a long time. Bullet points first, then I go into slightly longer paragraphs for each bullet point to expand on it, and then I even go into the Beatboard app on Final Draft, which is where you can create sticky notes and you can organise them in any way you like. And I tend to you can do it on Miro as well, which is a free app. And I basically arrange all these little index cards digitally into an entire movie, and I map it out and I make sure that it all flows. And then once it's flowed, I tend to leave it for a little while, leave it for a couple of weeks, say, go back to it and then read all the index cards again, Make sure that they link up to the Google Doc that I've created, all the bullet points and all of the paragraphs that I've written in there. And sometimes I look back and I think, well, that doesn't really work. That's not going to flow. That shouldn't be in there. That should be moved over to another part of the film. It's basically about reorganizing and then adding or removing sections, and I do that for a long time. And then once I'm finally happy with the structure of the movie and I understand all of the events within those index cards, and they spark off little ideas in my head about how those characters might interact with that scene, that moment, then I open up Final Draft and I write a first draft. And then obviously from a first draft I write a second draft. Usually my scripts are about 80 to 100 pages. Once I've done a second or third draft, I tend to try and get feedback on it. So that means I'll throw it into a competition, might give it to some friends, might even give it to you, which is what I usually do. Get some feedback, get some ideas, and then I'll rewrite a couple more drafts. And then that is the part where I tend to struggle on, as a lot of writers do. What do you do with it when you finished it? Well, you want to get an agent, you want to get a manager, you want to get funding for it. But they're all the biggest hurdles a writer can overcome.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously in future episodes we'll look into that aspect of it, and getting the work out there and getting it seen and getting it sold or getting it produced and directed by, a collective of people. Yeah, that's really cool insight. Obviously, it's a very quick, the nature of these podcasts are very quick overviews of things, and obviously feel free to reach out to us on Twitter. Myself, I'm at Adam. Sorry, no, I'm not. I'm at Palmer291. And Chris, you are.
Yeah, I'm at ChrisHolt88 on Twitter.
And obviously, we'd love to have a chat with you guys on there. Thank you for listening. Sorry,
I was going to say, please feel free to comment on these YouTube videos as well if you're watching this or listening to this on YouTube.
Yeah, of course, and obviously all the links are going to be down below in the description. And as well, if you've got any thoughts or anything, as Chris said, reach out, put it in the comments, send us an email. All of our socials will be included at the end, and also on screen, as you can see below. And thanks for listening. As I said, it's going to be a weekly podcast, and tune in next week for episode 3.
Absolutely. And just one thing I want to add to this is like and subscribe, which I've never said before in this setting.
Thank
you very much, everybody.
Brilliant. Cheers, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.